My name is Hayley Kellett, and I am one of the co-owners of The Making Box, which is Guelph's hub for live comedy and improv education. And what I do there is I'm the director of the Improv Incubator Program, so I facilitate all of our educational courses. So if you wanted to come and sign up for an improv class and join us every week to learn the fundamentals of improv, you'd be talking to me first. I'm also one of our lead instructors. I help Jay Reed, who's the leader of our Improv for Business section, facilitate those workshops in a professional development setting, as well as probably another 1,000 things that happen at The Making Box. I have always been improvising, and so has every other human being, but mine more specifically, and more obviously, I started improv when I was 14 in high school, part of the Canadian Improv Games, which The Making Box is still very involved with, which makes me super happy. I feel very bookended. And then from there, I just kept taking classes. I found Second City when I was 15, and they hired me when I was 18 to work for them. And from there, I started doing workshops and performing across North America and beyond. Improv took me all over the world, and there is nothing else I can ever imagine myself doing. I thought for a while I'd be a special ed teacher, which I still love, and I thought I'd be a high school teacher, but I always was revolving around this idea of teaching and bringing information to other people, and improv has consistently been the easiest way for me to do that. So, starting The Making Box, I wish I was here from the very beginning. I missed the initial decision to really start. Jay Reed and Tom Brown and Rick Mattingly were the three people that really got The Making Box off the ground, starting it very small. And then when I joined last year, I've been with The Making Box for the last year, officially as of the 17th of June, which is very exciting. We noticed in that last year that things doubled in lots of ways. There was so much growth, and it was overwhelming and crazy. And for me personally, that experience was I left Toronto, which is saturated with comedy and saturated with improv, and I was working for Second City, which is one of the biggest improv and comedy theaters in the world. And I left that community to come to Guelph, which is a much smaller community, but just as thriving and just as exciting. And that transition was a lot. And I don't regret it at all, because I lost maybe 50% of the stress in my life, which I feel is a weird thing to say as an entrepreneur. I came and started a business and half my stress went away, which is bonkers. But it really did, because working with Jay made it really easy and very welcoming and very accepting. And there's a big learning curve for me, because I came from a performer and instructor background. I hadn't done a lot of business. So it was come to Guelph, sign up for classes, learn all this stuff. I will help you learn all this stuff. Aaron Doherty was amazing in helping me learn everything I needed to know. It was a year of education. So it really felt like starting this business, I got to get The Making Box rolling a little bit more. It was already off the ground. I just helped push it down the hill a little bit. But there's been a lot of changes about who I am and how I'm presenting myself and how I put myself forward in the business world, which is not something I ever did before. And that's been very exciting and very interesting. Advice I would give to young entrepreneurs would be nap now. Please nap. Go to sleep. Fall asleep immediately, because it's not going to happen anymore. It's just not going to. So get your naps in now, and then be aware. One thing that has really helped me out is being aware of when I can't sleep and when I wake up, and making sure you have downtime. So get those habits in now. Start to develop a personal rest system, because if I didn't have that, I would explode. Judgment is such an interesting thing for me. The world that The Making Box lives in, the world that I come from, this improvisational world exists in a no judgment zone. And it's all about acceptance, and it's all about inclusion and welcoming all ideas and every idea. So I've done a lot of training on getting rid of judgment, and especially self-criticism, and not putting too much value on the judgment of others. So that's not so much of a big deal for me. I will operate the way I operate regardless of whether people are judging me. And that's the message that I'm communicating to my students, and that The Making Box is communicating to our clients. That should never, judgment will never stop me from moving forward or changing or adapting the way that I think is important. It's not a factor. I don't think it should be a factor. When did I last push the boundaries of my comfort zone? Outside of when I let a stranger pie me in the face on stage, or all the other weird things that we do for shows like Duo to the Death, where we're intentionally messing with each other on stage. That stuff, all the time, constantly. But I mentioned that I have very little business backgrounds. My dad and my mom opened up a chain of franchises, and I watched them be entrepreneurs and follow their own paths through business. But I never took classes, I'd never done anything. It was all kind of through eavesdropping. So coming to Guelph and having to run a business and be aware of all of the math that needs to get done, all of the financials that need to happen, all of the planning and structure that comes behind all of the fun stuff we get to do every day, that took me out of my comfort zone. And taking classes took me out of my comfort zone. Putting myself in a room where I had to talk about budgets in an articulate and intelligent way was new for me and not something I was comfortable talking about before. But now I feel like I can navigate my way through those conversations. But it's still always a little bit out of my comfort zone, which is kind of what I want already. I feel like if you're not a little bit afraid, then there's no risk, and if there's no risk, then the reward's not as fun. So there should always be a little bit of boundary pushing no matter what we're doing. Asking for help, vulnerability, part of every day as a person in business, as a person in general, I think. I've been very lucky. My family was very clear on it is always okay to ask for help. There is never a problem in asking for what you want, and asking for what you need, and asking for information. That should never be a detriment. My sister Lauren has special needs, so I grew up in a household where we had to be very clear and had to be very direct, and if we didn't understand something, because she didn't understand most things, we had to explain them. So it was never a problem to ask for help. So I've been very lucky, and I cannot stress enough how lucky it is to not be afraid to ask for help, because I understand how challenging it is, and I see that happen, but I will ask for help all the time. Jay Reed has been phenomenal in helping me, because he knows, luckily we balance out so well, he knows all the business side, because that's where his degree helps out. He's got an entrepreneurship and a biotechnology degree, he's amazing. And I have a theater history, so all of the questions I have about business, Jay will help me out, and if he doesn't know the answers, then we have so many amazing mentors at Innovation Guelph and at GBEC and at the Chamber of Commerce. Everybody has been very open to saying, if you need help, please come to me. So every time I have a question, and it's daily, I have questions at least once a day. It's never a problem on asking, it's just who can I ask? Which out of the million resources that Guelph offers me, who do I go to for this particular question? And that's been fine so far.
Guelph is really, really good for that.
Guelph's amazing for that. It's coming from Toronto, which should be amazing, and I love Toronto, I don't mean to bog them down, but coming from a place that is so competitive, where everyone's trying to find their own success and not find collective success, asking for help was harder because everyone was like, I can't help you, I'm working on my own thing right now. That was at least my experience. And coming to Guelph, where this community is rising tides raise all ships type of place, where if I'm asking for help and I want to find success, it's cool, let's find success together. What can I do? It's been flooring, it's been baffling, because I like to say, in the 10 years that I was in comedy in Toronto, that equals my first 4 months in Guelph. As a professional, I feel like I accomplished more, which is insane, just because of the help of others. Almost every interaction I have in Guelph is with someone who is enthusiastic and positive and wants to support me. It just changes the conversations you have, because now I want to make sure that everybody I'm talking to feels the same way, that I am here to celebrate and support them, because they are celebrating and supporting me and everything else that's going on. It's very easy to find success if everyone is working together. It's really nice. I like to describe Guelph, my go-to, I love the Pleasantville description. I like to think of Guelph as the perfect combination of Toronto and Parry Sound. If you put those two towns together, you get the excitement of a city, and there's so much to do, and there's such a collective celebration of what's happening with this small town community and celebratory lifting voice. It's really nice. I like those two places in one make Guelph for me. being a good entrepreneur means being authentic, and you can't be authentic without being vulnerable. You're not being true to yourself or to your craft unless you are willing to show vulnerability. No one is 100% powerful. I am nowhere close to being 100% on all the time. My life would be boring if it was that easy. It wouldn't be fun. So working with people at the Making Box, like Tom and Rick and Jay and our interns and our other staff members and all of our mentors, you can't, I'm vulnerable now. I'm trying to word my answer. You won't get help if you're not vulnerable. No one wants to celebrate you if you're not vulnerable. No, like if you think about power, I'm gonna use a Harry Potter reference, but like for example, Dumbledore in Harry Potter is very capable, can handle everything, has infinite knowledge and wisdom, but the reason people respect him is that vulnerability and that willingness to say, I'm still learning and there's so much more that I can be and do. And that is the type of people I want to work with. That's why we've been talking about Erin Doherty a little bit. I love Erin so much because she's so clear on her authenticity and her vulnerability. And if you're having a bad day, there's never a problem to voice that. And I found in my student groups, if I'm teaching a class, I'm asking everybody in that room to be vulnerable and take a risk and step forward and try something new. And if I'm not willing to be that person with them, then that's unfair. And as an entrepreneur, you're creating something new and you're putting something out there and you're putting yourself out there. Nobody else, you're not doing this for anyone but you. You want to do this, I want to do this. And if I'm not vulnerable, then no one's going to support me because I'm already giving the illusion of I'm 100% ready, I don't need any help, we're good to go, just come, just show up. But without that vulnerability, no one's going to be, there's no intrigue, you know? Oh, so many role models, so many inspirational people and inspirational women, especially in this past year for me, transitioning from almost exclusively performance and teaching into running a business that facilitates opportunity. People like Erin Doherty, who have made it clear that you can do what you want, how you want to do it. I'm so impressed with the life that she leads and the life she's created. And she has introduced me to dozens, and so I went to the International Women's Day conference and everybody I met there was amazing. All the workshop leaders, all the organizers, everybody here at Innovation Guelph has been so helpful. One person that we've spent a lot of time working with at the Making Box, Neil Palmer, has been incredibly helpful and very inspiring in that he is intelligent and articulate, but also very passionate about his hobbies and his life and his family. We talk just as much about bass fishing as we do about business, which I really like. And then from my history before coming to Guelph, one person that really made an impact for me is a man named Reed Janice. And he was the reason I got hired at Second City when I was 18. I was helping him out at a summer camp, and I was supposed to just be a volunteer assistant, and he let me teach half the class every day and gave me opportunities and gave me feedback and helped me build curriculum and helped me find my voice as an instructor. And then he started putting me on stage, and he gave me every opportunity that I wanted without even asking. It's that idea again of being vulnerable and being authentic and letting people know that you're looking for help and that you're looking to learn. And he saw that in me and he helped me. And then I still work with him, and hopefully we've talked about coming to Guelph and collaborating and bringing something new. And there are people like that everywhere. I could talk about my mom forever and my family life at home, having a sister with special needs and having two parents that work really hard at teaching patience and respect and making sure that whoever you're talking to and whoever you're engaging with, that person has value. And that lesson was always very, very clear, and I happily will blame my parents for that trait in me and what that's done, all those amazing inspirational people that I still get to talk. Like, I get to email Colin Mockery all the time, and that's the best. It's so cool to have all these amazing people and find inspiration in them as well as students. I'm rambling so much about this because I have so much inspiration, but every level 1 class, when you get 14 people that have never tried this before coming into a room, and after an hour, have some of them stand up and say, I've never felt more like myself. I had this happen 2 months ago. I had a student stand up and say, for the last 5 years, I have been feeling stuck, and I've been feeling like I haven't been able to express who I am, and after 1 hour in this room with other people feeling authentic, and they felt inspiration from strangers, to have that happen, that's always inspiring, and I get that every 2 months. That's amazing. There is a long list of books that we use at the Making Box specifically to help us out with a focus on improv for business. There is one book called Improv for Business that I really, really enjoyed. And it was so specific for us, but all of those lessons in that book are so valuable. It's talking about how to listen and connect and respond, right? And that's valuable in any profession. Finding trust and positive collaboration through listening, that book really focuses on. And it talked a lot about status, which I sometimes struggle with. When you enter a space and there is a high-level employee that is very high status and is almost like a ruler and dominant over other people, and navigating that status and finding ways to equalize is very important, and that was in that book, which was very cool. I also really enjoy, there was a To Sell Is Human, lots and lots of podcasts. I really like This American Life, and I know there's so much variety on that podcast, but there are lots and lots of episodes talking specifically about communication, and all things about communication I've really, really enjoyed. And what I would recommend is, honestly, my list all comes from Jay. He's been so helpful, and he's been my #1 resource. So I would recommend everyone reach out to Jay Reed for a list of books, because he just gives me a book every couple of months to read. And then I like picking people's brains rather than, I like reading and I like podcasts and I like websites. It's all so valuable, and I will never knock that stuff, but I would rather find someone that knows a lot about it and sit down with them for an hour and talk to them. That's been my #1 thing, is trying to have a weekly conversation with someone else that knows more about something than I do, and getting that information and braiding it with mine to make something new. Yes, yes, it's so hard finding the balance between you time and work time. It's so challenging, especially with what I do, where so much of my job is producing amazing live comedy events and performing, and that is fun, and I love it, and it used to be my hobby, and now my hobby is my job. So the line is very, very blurry, and especially since everything that happens as an entrepreneur and at work, you are responsible for. The highs are very, very, very high, and the lows are very, very low. So what I've had to do is set very clear boundaries on, I am not working, my cell phone is off, my computer is closed, they're in a different room, and I will not look at them, or I will work all day. I would just on and off all day. I'll be checking emails, I'll be looking at Twitter, I'll be just involved somehow, unless I decide at 9 p.m. every day I turn it off, and I have to, and that's something. This is my advice from before, of nap and find your schedule. I had not done that, and this whole year has been a process of figuring out where those dividing lines are, and I'm still working on it. I'm still very, very, very hard at work on that task, but setting definite end times has been challenging, especially when you're excited about what you're talking about. You could talk about it. I could talk about the Making Box and improv and the benefits of what we do forever. So deciding not to is very challenging. It's really hard not to and fall asleep and then dream about working. I work really hard at balancing relationships and work, because relationships are key in every facet of your life. You will never know what type of partnership and what type of relationship you'll need in the future. Not that every relationship I have I'm mining for business, but I will always dedicate time to my family and my friends, because they were always consistently there for me. I've talked about my parents quite a bit, and I'm never ever going to doubt that they will be there if I need them, and I always want to be there if they need me. And I live with my partner Caleb, and the first year, it's been a year of us in Guelph. I moved from Toronto here, and we moved into a new place together, and starting a business and moving in with someone, there's a lot going on, and you really have to dedicate to communicating and being authentic and being vulnerable with relationships. And being an improv company and working with comedy, our mission is creating community, which is fostering relationships. So most of my job is fostering relationships and building new ones through communication, through comedy, and through everything we do at the Making Box. It's very important to me. I spend a lot of time on it.